Okay, it says that are we on air? Let me just check if we are on there right now. So I'm checking on my page because we never know if these things are working 100%. We're live. Okay, brilliant. Hello everyone, Raphael here from Guided PR. So we rebranded, for those who knew me from High Profile Club before. So we are now guidedpr.com. And why are we Guided PR? Because our business has evolved and we are now more than just connecting with journalists. So we also guide you on how to get featured in the media. We help you to write content, we help you to write to your bio, and we help you to pitch articles to big publications. We had Harvard Business Review last week with our members. So once you become a member, you can join our webinars and you can learn how to pitch to these publications. Today is all about the BBC, and we have an amazing guest with us. He will be here with us in a minute. It will be Dexter Moscow. I really like his name. I thought it was a stage name when I first met him, and I'm going to tell you this story. And today I will talk about on how you can get published on the BBC. Everybody wants to be in the top publication, but not everyone get it. How do we do that? So let me share my screen with you so you can see how you can get featured on the BBC. Okay, so this is the webinar. So how you can get featured on the BBC. Now I have two screens with me, so if suddenly I'm looking that way, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I'm just making sure that I am paying attention to the types of requests. So let's talk about the types of requests, okay? There are several types of requests when it comes to giving an interview. That can be on TV or can be in writing, okay? And the requests are guest articles if you're writing, is interviews that can be in writing on radio or on TV. We have sound bites. We have panelists, guest speaker, and topical commentary. So guest articles are normally that when the journalist wants you to write the article because you're the expert. It could be between 500 and 1,000 words. Interviews is a simple question, answer. Some TV interviews will last 3 minutes. So you have to go all the way to Oxford Circus to be able to give a 3-minute interview. But if you are featured on the BBC, obviously it gives you a lot of credibility. Top tips. If you are giving top tips, normally it's ABC. Dexter is going to be talking about this when we are interviewing him. And sound bites is normally 1 or 2 sentences if you're writing, okay? Obviously, panelist and speaker, it's also now in webinars, it's online, and topical commentary, it's when you can talk about things. For example, if you are in retail, how does Brexit affect retail, or how the coronavirus now is affecting retail? So these are the type of articles and how you can reply to the media. Now, the next one is one thing that I never heard ever anyone say is I don't want to be on radio or TV. Okay, so if you are a business owner, if you are an entrepreneur, you want to be in the media because media gives you visibility and credibility and can help you sell more. Okay, now let's target the journalist. So what does this mean to you? Okay, so unfortunately is that it means that journalists have more people than they need. There are lots of people who want to be in the same media, then that means you're going to have lots of competition, okay? So they can't see everyone, that's the problem, and picking you is the first hurdle. So thanks to your amazing bio, you got selected. So bio, it's super important. There was a webinar that we did the other day about the Banek system that I created, where you can learn to create your bio properly. Okay, now if you haven't been selected, then let's talk about you providing content. So it's super important. Why wouldn't my comment? So this is if you are not selected. So if you send your comments and it's not selected, one is because it's badly written. Number 2 is because it's too promotional. So journalists want facts knowledge, okay? They don't want promoting your business because you are going to be there. You're going to be on TV or you're going to be featured. So your name should be sufficient for you to be featured there, so you don't have to keep promoting your business over and over. If you don't answer the brief or if you don't answer the question, then your comments don't get picked, okay? If you're not related to the publication, let's say that your business is all about shoes and the website that you're pitching is all about perfumes. It's not related, you're not going to be picked. So make sure that you know what publication. So if you have a business or if you're in health, make sure that you know which journalist you're pitching to, even in the BBC, because they have different sections as well, okay? So they have the political section, they have the health, the food, the fashion, just like any other publication. Now, if your comment or if you have written something that is being published elsewhere, it's very unlikely that they're going to pick your content again. So make sure that you provide something that is unique and is different, otherwise it doesn't get picked. And then we have nothing new. Again, oh, what do you have to do to hydrate? You have to drink lots of water. Really? So if it's nothing new, then you are not going to be picked. Be very, very careful when you are providing content to journalists to make sure that it's something that they like. What good content looks like? So obviously you follow the brief. If they're saying, provide me 200 words on the difficulties of running a business during coronavirus. That's it. So you're going to write 200 words on that, and then you send your bio, then your photo. Make sure that those 200 words only answer the brief, nothing else. Okay, so keep it simple, no jargon, no abbreviations, nothing that will make people think, what is this? Okay, then you provide value. Okay, it's really something, is there action to take? Has the person read that and learned something? This is really, really important. Don't promote, okay? Never say, oh, at the moment I'm selling 2 for 1, or go to my website and do this, or you will never be invited again, especially if you actually manage to get a TV on the BBC, an interview at the BBC, okay? Answer the question, follow the brief. It's the same thing. Make sure that if they ask you, what is the biggest challenge today for female founders to sell more? Answer that. And then if you want to add something else, but that should be your first sentence, okay? And then respect the opportunity. Make sure that you get that on time. Make sure that you provide the number of words they're asking, okay? Respect that if you want to be invited again to be featured, especially with the BBC. So let me give you an example. What I'll do now is I'm going to remove myself, well, I'll leave it because I don't know how the technology is going to work. I said, I'm just going to put this on big screen, but in case I remove that, and let me just see if this is going to work. So if I remove that, I'll put that there. I think I've gone quiet, so I'm going to keep this here because even though it's very small, but what we're going to do there is you can see on my screen, okay, when you have, for example, a biotech company has launched a new drug. Oops. Biotech company has launched a new drug which, having passed clinical trial, is shown to reduce the likelihood of diabetes in children by 10%. Sorry, I'm reading because I have a big monitor here. So how does that work? If you're in PR or if this is your company, what you do is you need to think who would be interested in this, okay? Then you obviously, because it's a biotech company, okay, and it's launching a drug that is going to reduce diabetes in children, there are several people that would be interested. So you could be speaking to the health editor, to the planning editor, and then there's the health team, and there are other programs. Because this is for children, you know, then the consumer team also could be interested. The bio or the health team would be interested. The tech team could be interested. So there are different sections of the BBC that could be interested in this article. So that's very important for you to understand. Okay, so if you're launching a new pair of shoes for women over 50 that has, problems with their feet, then you need to think, okay, so I can send to everyone who writes about women's interests. I can send this to journalists who write about the elderly. So there are different ways, or someone that writes about shoes, which is fashion. Then there are 3 different approaches that you can get there. So it's important for you to understand the approach. Okay, so that's one example of how the BBC would work. So that's what I wanted to show you. Now, the BBC Business Unit. Okay, so how that works. Again, I'm going to look at my screen over there. I'm not ignoring you all. So the BBC Business Unit, this is how it's formed. Okay, so that could go to BBC Radio 5, it could go to BBC News at 10, and you will see there are all the different programs that the BBC has, and they all have different email addresses that you can be pitching your story to. Okay, that is very important. Now, I will give you one example. So if you are planning to, the desk contact, so they do all the planning. So you have the editor and the deputy planning editor. We are there. And the general email is businessplan@bbc.co.uk. That's how you pitch your story to them. So the guidance from the planning desk is that emails is sent the best way to pitch initially. A team of 4 actively and efficiently monitor the high volume of emails received. So your story needs to be pitched in such a way that you have to think, is this good for the wider audience? Is this good for everyone who will be watching? So, is this good for children? Is it good for adults? Is it wider population? So that's very important not to be overly promotional and really understand your audience. Okay. So how to find opportunities? Well, obviously you go to guidedpr.com. That's how you find opportunities to be featured in the media. Once you log in, for example, you can use keywords. In this example, I use Forbes. So once you use Forbes, you will see there are some Forbes journalists that use the platform. I should have used BBC. Apologies for that. So I should have added that there. And then what you can see in the Guided PR platform is that journalists will be adding a request, and then you can read the request to see if this is of your expertise, so you can answer to them. Okay, and then once you've seen the expertise there, you can apply, which means that you will send your comment, your expert comment, to this journalist. Okay, and how that works is that is a screen that pops up, and then you put your comments. When you send your comments to the journalist, the email that the journalist will get will have your photo, your name, your bio, and your comments, and we'll help you to write your bios when you send to the journalist too. Okay, so it's important for you to learn where to find media opportunities, and Guided PR is one of them. Okay, so that's why you had to add the comments there. So visit Guided PR for you to find some media opportunities. And now I'm going to invite to join me the super hyper Dexter Moscow. So let's see, Dexter should be coming live now in a second. So let's see. Dexter, are you with me?
I am here, most definitely. And lovely to be with you. Raphael, it's fantastic.
There you are. Okay, you are on screen. So I'm going to leave. It wasn't showing to me, but I can see you were showing to everyone. I'm going to remove this for now because it's covering your face. Let me just see. And this
some would say that's a good thing.
No, but let me just continue here. So guys, Dexter is an amazing trainer. So he helps people to get on. He trained a lot of people on QVC, so how to sell, how to present on camera, and now he specializes because everybody's doing webinars, everybody's doing Zoom, and everybody's doing that kind of presentation online. So he helps business owners and professionals to communicate well on camera, even if it's a small camera, not just a TV camera, but we're going to be talking about that in a second. And also be talking about his new book, okay, A Voyage Without My Father. I hope my pronunciation and my accent are good for The Voyage Without My Father. Is it good enough?
It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so I will bring now Dexter to the pictures, remove the book now so we can be side by side there, Dexter, and let's talk about your, let's start with tips, because I know you worked with QVC, right? For a
Yep.
long time. That's your
Yep.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yes, indeed. I mean, when I first was approached to appear on QVC, which was a number of years ago, a friend of mine said, and this will show you how long ago it was, they said, we'd like you to sell some video recorders on QVC. And I said, yeah, sure. What's QVC? I didn't appreciate that it was a live television selling station. And so I went on, and very quickly they realized that I had some training background, and I always wonder whether people are going to switch off now. I was an estate agent.
You were?
I was. For my sins, I was an estate agent. But I learned a lot about how you motivate people, how you influence and persuade people. And that was really the key of being on QVC. So very soon they sent me to the States to understand how they trained guest presenters. And I came back and I said, it ain't going to work here. There's a very great difference between selling in America and selling here. So we constructed a sales idea, a framework, that how people interact with each other on the screen. And it's come full cycle. Because this is what a lot of the time I spend helping people to present themselves more effectively in these video conferencing calls or in creation of videos. So, and it's some of the things we're going to discuss today about, the tips that once we are on TV or on radio, how do we control the conversation that is acceptable to the interviewer and gets our point across as well. So that's what we're going to visit today.
Sure. Is there, because I think the first thing that I would like to talk about, because everybody is so afraid of the camera. People get so scared of the camera. It's kind of this monster, everybody wants, and it's funny because all business owners, they want to be on TV. They want to give interviews. They want the exposure. But when opportunity comes along, they freeze. Can you explain? Do you have an explanation?
Yes, because I think that, it is a one-eyed monster. When we're looking down the throat of the camera, it is easier when somebody is being interviewed or when we're being interviewed, because the focus now is not on hopefully the thousands or the millions that are watching that interview or listening to it, but the person who is asking the question. If we just close everything down and think, I'm responding to that person's question and they're interested in finding more about what I do, then that's how to unfreeze it. Don't think about the myriads of people that are listening or viewing. Think about the person that you're speaking to. And if you want to convey a message out there to an audience, think of the people that you know where that audience and that answer would be beneficial. And something you said and really hits home with me, it's about relevancy. It's about understanding who your audience is and what is it that they want to find out. So don't go into an interview thinking, I want to convey this message and I don't care what questions are going to be asked. I'm going to get my message across. That's not the right way to do it, because there leads to fear. When you are sincerely interested in having an interview of conveying a message that is important to you or product information that is important to you, everything else kind of fades away. The fear fades away. So just answer the questions, and then we'll talk today about how we use those answers to make our next point. And I call that answering the question, and then that's a gift.
Very good. Okay. And is that a big, obviously then you were in front of the camera, you were selling. Is that a big difference in live TV and pre-recorded? So
yes.
Do you get more nervous? Do you get, it's like, oh my God, I can't really mess up here because it's live.
I think live, strangely enough, I mean, if you put a QVC presenter in front of a teleprompter, for instance, they go dead behind the eyes. And certainly if that's the way you want to convey information through a teleprompter, you need to practice it, because then the kind of the passion diminishes. When you're live, you can always say, I'm sorry, I've said that wrong. Can I just go back on the point that I want to make? So, and that's human.
Oh,
People
I
do,
see.
people don't want to see somebody who's too slick. When I was on QVC and I trained others to sell, the worst people were actors because they took a role. They weren't authentic. And
And it looks to a stage, doesn't it?
it
I
does look
you
fake.
can see when it looks to a stage or it looks a bit fake.
Yes. So authenticity is absolutely key. And being sincere about what you want to say, how you say it. And, you said, can you freeze? Yes, you can, but just relax it down. Relax. Think about what you need to say. Don't over rehearse because, and I'm going to use the language here. Television, even working through a screen as we are now, it's the biggest bullshit monitor.
Why?
They'll catch you out. So be sincere, be authentic,
Oh, I see.
know your subject.
Very good. And I know we were talking earlier on a little bit about your book, and I think what I'd like to do is a little bit of role play with you, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do two things. So one is that I will be asking you questions because I know on TV we've sent clients that were interviewed before. If it's a topical commentary, like I made a comment before, it can be 2 minutes, right? It can be 3 minutes. So let's say if you are a specialist in retail and Sky News or the BBC wants to speak to a retail specialist and say, what is the future of retail with Brexit? So that's topical, and then they want to.
Yeah.
But what we are going to do is we're going to do one that is going to last about 2-3 minutes, where we're going to talk about the book. I know that I'm going to show you once again because you're launching a new book. It's called The Voyage Without My Father. Let me remove the name there from your face. Let's make sure. Hide. Hide. There we go. Now people will be able to see as well. So we're going to be talking about the book, okay, for me to understand a little bit more. So let's pretend we are now.
Can I just, because I want people to pick out these things that are going to happen in this interview. So I want to mention 5 things. The first is, as you have said, you need to know what your subject is and who the audience is you're speaking to. Then we'll look at the concept of that question as a gift. Then about phrase making and creating a memorable quote. Then using the rule of 3, which is an acronym or something like that. And then to really understand that it is not about selling. And it is not about logic. It's about creating an emotional connection. So let's see if I'm able to demonstrate those things in our.
Okay. So let's just make sure that we get that right for the audience. So there are 5 things that you want to, if you have to put. So number 1 is
knowing what your audience wants to hear.
Number 2.
The next is the concept of a question as a gift.
Okay. Number 3.
Then phrase making or a memorable quote.
4.
The rule of 3, which can be an acronym or it can be alliteration as well. And the last, and really the overarching thing, is make sure you make an emotional connection.
Brilliant. Okay, so you have the 5 there. So let's put that in practice then. Yes, let's show. So good evening, everyone. Raphael here from the BBC, and we have a guest who is launching a new book, A Voyage Without My Father, Dexter Moscow. Dexter, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Raphael, thank you for inviting me. It's something that I have wanted to talk about for a long, long time.
Great. So, A Voyage Without My Father, can you tell us why you wrote this book and what is the message in the book?
The key message here is that unfortunately, when I was 10, I lost my dad. And it was at a time, he was only 45, and it was at a time when children were not allowed in hospital wards. And so I wasn't there to say goodbye to him. And in this time of COVID, so many people have been in that same situation where they weren't in the hospital to hold their relatives' hands as they passed. And that, unfortunately, was a burden that was placed on our nurses and our doctors. So that, for me, created a tremendous amount of regret, which it took me a long time to overcome. And it was only really in my 40s that I understood why I reacted in such a way, because there was a lot of anger and there was a lot of guilt. And so I have written this book for people who may be suffering that same regret, guilt, and problems in anger today.
So, and it's very timely then, because the book you've written, obviously, it's for those who can't say goodbye. So they will, those feelings that sometimes we don't understand. And now with COVID, as you mentioned, a lot of people are losing their loved ones and they're unable to say goodbye. So what is the one thing that you learned then that you put in practice to be able to, I don't know if you release that feeling, but how can you cope with it?
It's difficult to cope with it because as a child, I don't think I processed it properly. And it was only in my latter years, as I say, in my mid-40s, that I suddenly realized I was getting angry for no apparent reason. So I went into psychotherapy. And after about 18 months in psychotherapy, I came out with the understanding that I was angry at my father for dying. Okay, but what do you do with that? I couldn't have a chat with him, or could I? And so then I went on a voyage of discovery. And the key thing I want to convey is that I came up with 3 elements. It was called MIC. It's Mick. And the M was for meditation. I found meditation. Then the I is imagination. I imagined that when I meditated, I could stand by my father's side, although he wasn't there. And the C, the MIC bit, is conversation. And so what I learned through these different therapies, that I could actually go back in my mind, because the mind is like a time machine, and I could stand in front of my father, as I did in my imagination, and I said to him, Dad, how could you leave us? You were a chain smoker. You were overweight. So I had this conversation with him, and in my head, I cried, he explained that at that time, nobody knew that smoking could be that dangerous. And as I came out of that meditative level, it was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And so the essence of this book is to give people some of this methodology that when they are faced with these extreme anger or this extreme regret, it can take them from a place that is not serving them to a place that will serve them. So that was the
very good. So thank you so much. That's all that we have on time for air at the moment. So thank you so much for being here, Dexter. And good luck with the book. So that was about 2 minutes, which is really good. And I think, as much as we could, but it's the idea is to be short, precise, and I think you used your acronym there, the MIC, isn't it?
Yes.
So if we decompose the answer now, so I think you obviously used everything there. I think there was timely, it's comparing to something that is happening now, which is really important. Obviously, in journalism, it's called the hook, and it's very important for you, if you're trying to get whatever it is, either your business or you want to give an interview because of your expertise, how can you hook to what is happening right now? And Dexter did that really well, obviously talking about the book and not being able to say goodbye. So now let's talk about the book. How long did it take you to, how long have you been writing it?
I would say that it took me almost all of my life. What enabled me to write this book is that I wrote a business book called Stand Up and Sell, which is, is really about how we present ourselves. And so because of the courage that I got that published, it worked as a book. I do a lot of talking to groups about that, and certainly was interviewed on television about that. But then this was a project that I was very fearful of writing because I knew it would be very emotional for me. But because of the original book, it gave me the courage to write this. And we were talking before about it. Some of the content of the book, and this I'm offering to people who may have lost a loved one, who may still be in that grief situation, and you never recover from grief. All you manage to do is manage it. I found the solace in lyrics of a song, and I tell the story of Mike and the Mechanics, who wrote a song called "In the Living Years," and part of the lyrics is, "I was not there that morning when my father passed away." And I heard that in my 40s. And I literally had to stop the car I was driving because the tears welled up in my eyes and I
Wow.
couldn't see the road. And then it took me on this voyage of discovery, this voyage of how do I overcome these feelings. And part of the way that I did it was to write this book. It was very cathartic. And so if anybody, and this is certainly what I would suggest, if anybody has a book in them, and most of us have, you certainly have, you know, your journey is amazing.
Thank
And
you.
so, you know, even if nobody ever reads it, and most people will, if you find the right publisher, you'll be able to do it. Have the courage just to set it down. Because somebody, some time ago, I was speaking to this guy who was an ace salesperson. And just to put it in perspective, he was the main encyclopedia, the top encyclopedia salesman in North America, the whole of North America. And I was
Wow.
sitting down with him and I said, you've got to write about your experiences. So he said, no, it's a vanity project. So I said to him, how dare you? The expertise that you have of influencing and persuading somebody to part with that amount of money, you cannot deprive people of that understanding. So if you've got a message out there, write the book. And then, and I think this is one of the points that you very well made, is that when you have that authority because you've done it, then you can write to the BBC, then you can get onto television, then because they want great content,
Yes.
especially now with so much happening in the digital world.
Yes.
So yeah, be the authority, write something, and then you will get, people will approach you.
Very good. So I'll put it here. Your website is dextermoscow.com,
Yes,
right?
.co.uk.
.co.uk. Cool.
Yes.
So if you guys want to get in contact, but at the end of the video, you can also put your website there. Okay. Thank you so much for your expertise, Dexter. It's always a pleasure. Congrats on the new book.
Thank you. Me too.
I can see it's a very personal journey that you're going through there, and I think nothing better than now help others. That sometimes we think we are going through a unique journey, and there are so many people going through that, and they need help. So
Yes.
well done on writing the book and helping others. And thank you for joining me today. That's our webinar for today. So how you get on the BBC, how you give an interview with super cool Dexter Moscow. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you all who have been watching. Goodbye.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye-bye.